In a city focused on Christmas spirit, Jesus makes an appearance. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name's Elliot Smith, Black Man Twitter, Ant Gunner. Hello, everybody. I'm actually not on this podcast, but I did want to say hello to you. Paul and Clive will be doing the podcast because the internet Wi-Fi in my Bruges hotel is mixed, to say the least, and having an interrupted stop-start podcast probably wouldn't be the best thing. We want to get it out to you as soon as we can. Of course, there was an instant reaction last night where Phil Costa and I did some stuff from the ground, and Tim and Paul took the rest from there. But just a really fun experience. The stadium itself, wouldn't recommend it. Men's room for relieving yourself. The less said about that, the better. The only beer on offer was 0% at €12 a cup. So also not ideal, but the football was a heck of a lot of fun. The songbook came out with some really good ones. The Last Christmas song was going up. It was fun. Piero and Capier's song is a banger. There's just a lot of fun to be had. But the general vibe was good, obviously. Seeing Gabriel Jesus come on was brilliant. Nonny Madueke's goals, fantastic. There were some bangers. Gabriel Martinelli scored a banger. And Ethan Nwaneri had a great cameo. So all in all, I think a good day at the office. And when you consider that Barcelona came to Bruges and drew 3-3, and we put out an all-change team, groups of players in positions they'd never played before, Norgaard holding down the defense and doing a great job of it. And this is just the way it is under Mikel Arteta. Whatever you think of him, Arsenal teams go out there and they always look competent. They always look organized. They always look like they know what they're meant to do. And that doesn't mean they're always going to win. But I don't think you've seen a Mikel Arteta side go out and produce a performance that's anything less than professional. So it was a good day for the Arsenal. It was a fun day to be there. I really enjoyed it. We're going to give you a full podcast now. So enjoy Clive and Paul. And I love you. And I'll be back on Mondays. Enjoy.
Fantastic. Thank you for that intro, Elliot, and teeing us up. But you should still all block him on all forms of social media at Yankee Gunner. Yes, I'm Paul. Thanks for, as I say, getting us rolling there, Elliot. I'll be hosting today and don't go running for the exits, because joining me, as you might hope and expect, is the man, the myth, the legend, Nobel scientist winning the prize for sequencing the genome, was it, Clive? Or is that no?
Mate. You know that I listened to you and Tim speak on the interaction last night, and he did a little bit of history of the wars, whatever it was. And I thought, no, I can't have that conversation because you two are so wise and so smart. If you want to talk about nuances as midfield and centre forwards and what we want to do in our structure, I'm here all week, right? So yeah, I thought it was a really nice section. Really nice section.
Yeah, we had a nice little chat. It was actually a fun one. If people, you might think it's all done and dusted, but it was actually a really good little chat. And Tim has his perspectives, and we had a good back and forth. But yeah, Bruges is famous for stunning, well-preserved medieval architecture, romantic canals, the Venice of the North, Clive, delicious Belgian chocolates, lace beer, historic squares like the Markt, which doesn't have a knee at the end of it instead of market,
okay.
which is probably why they that's probably where the E came from, the sequencing the gnome.
Okay. Well, you had me at beer, mate. You could have stopped right there. So,
yeah.
They do some lovely Belgian beers. Very good. And I shall be having some on Saturday and pre-game. So can't wait.
Very good. Well, look, I found it an enjoyable game. Okay, for the rest of the world, for the neutrals, whatever, it may have been a run-of-the-mill European fixture, but we are Arsenal supporters, Arsenal fans, and I think there's plenty to pick out of it. Okay, we have a tendency to maybe overread the tea leaves, but like this is our life, our blood, everything that matters to us, and I think there's plenty to pick out of this one. I enjoyed the game. We'll look back on it as an easy victory, a 3-0, but it wasn't that easy. Certainly a game that had its phases. But yeah, what was your vibe on it, Clive? Enjoy the game? Did you think there were things to pick out of it, lessons to learn? Maybe
there's always
some signs in there. Yeah,
there's always things that appear in every game, right? And though we talk about every single game, it's a point in time. It's not forever. It's a point in time. And there were some discussions in this game which I think were really, really good. Most importantly, we've lost a last-minute goal, a last-second goal. And that sick feeling has been in our stomachs the entire weekend. So it's the start of the weekend, the first game of the weekend, and we've lost it. And it makes you think. It makes you get introspective. It makes you think, and oh, crikey, and everyone else wins. And you start to look at your boots, right, metaphorically. And so this game's come along. You know, we've all seen the injury news coming out, and certain people didn't travel, and you're wondering, how are we going to look? And then the ball starts rolling, and we look all right, you know, and then you have a fantastic individual goal, and everything feels normal again. The world feels right again. And you just remind yourself that maybe 2-3 years ago, we played that game with the amount of people we have out. It's not going like that, you know, and it's a reminder of our maturity and growth in this competition, that we can go to these places now in third gear, jog around, smash it in their net 3 times and go home, you know, and that's a big step forward. And I never want to take that for granted, you know, and there are 36 teams in the Champions League table, and we are on top of it. So it's a good day, Paul. Good day.
Yeah. So look, there were some concerns coming into this in terms of injuries. Niggles, Timber, I guess, travelled but wasn't part of the squad, if I remember right. Calafiori was on the bench. We saw him hobbling off against Villa, so it was good to see him on the bench. It was good to see him, I think, get on the pitch before the end. But the manager made some choices in terms of the lineup. He went with 2 flying wingers, Gyökeres through the middle. He went with the Real Sociedad midfield of Odegaard, Zubimendi, Merino. Norgaard at right centre-back, an interesting choice. Miles Lewis-Skelly, not surprising, at left-back. I kind of feel we can start wherever, but to me, I'd hate if we didn't give Nonny his due. I mean, my word. That was like, it was nothing like the Maradona goal, and yet it had Maradona-esque picking it up near the halfway line. At least I'm sorry this is painful for you, Clive, England supporter that you are. Dancing through the England team, as I remember it last night, scoring a screamer from the edge of the box. My immediate thought was, why didn't you do that against Villa? But I'm very ungrateful, Clive.
Yeah, well, it comes back to people returning from injury. You know, the Villa game, once we break it down, there was a number of people overplayed because of injury, and a number of people back in the team that are underplayed because they've been injured. And so, and then we expect it all to work. Oh, by the way, we've just lost our 2 centre halves, so we haven't got them, you know, and so yeah, it's we were. Well, I would not say harsh. I was particularly frustrated by certain things against Villa. When you breathe after a few days, you just recognise it's the course of the season, and what happens next is the most important thing. And this was what was next. And in some ways, I think we're in a very strong position squad-wise because we found some people in the last 2 weeks. We lost some, but we found some, and we're finding more. And Nonny, we're definitely finding him, because against Villa, he had his cool dude game on, head on. Do you know what I mean? This game, he had his proper head on, and that goal, that shot was violent, right? So, and it was so direct, so threatening. Now that same run against Villa in the last couple of minutes, some people say he should have run to the corner. You know, so it's all about execution, yeah, and it's all about the execution. Execution goes well, then you're happy with it. If it doesn't, maybe he's losing a lot when he's travelling inside, he's not in control of his actions, blah, blah, blah. And we all become analysts on that, right? But actually, in this game, he used his strength, bodied him off, came inside and didn't even look anywhere else, had the blinkers on and smashed it off into roof and there. And it's a tremendous goal. And I think profile-wise with him, and he worked out, I thought the interview with him afterwards and Arteta was very instructive. He sort of spoke about, when my teammates give him the ball, they've got to think something's going to happen. And so for me, his key thing is just be threatening, consistently threatening. And Arteta was sort of spoke to, you can tell that he was talking about consistency of his actions. He can't just be good 1 minute and not so good the other. I'm paraphrasing here. You've got to have 10 consistent actions. And I thought, bingo, there's his game. He's going to beat his man, but the cross can't go into the terraces, right? It's got to go into drop between the sticks or cut back. And so he's got natural one-on-one talent, but it must lead to something consistently. And the guy who wears number 7 is quite consistent with his actions. decision making. And so you can see the next phase for him. It's just, although they're only about a year apart in age, if that, one's a lot more experienced than the other, and I think there's definitely a world they can play together, and Nonny can do the Rafinha thing, tear away, direct runner, smashing left footers, getting near the centre forward. There's so many more things he can do, and with that physical base, with that natural tendency to want to take people, really go. He's the coach's sort of dream. He's got it all, hasn't he? Like body wise, athletically, pace wise, he's got to be up there with Martinelli for raw speed, and so a very interesting player, and great night for him, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So he's a player. I don't know if I love him yet, but I'm ready to love him. There's something about his story and his arc that I think is just like, there's something about this player. I think he can be great for us. I don't know if he'll ever be a brilliant finisher, but he could be a decent finisher. I mean, that goal, if he's got a few more of them in his locker, but I don't know if he's going to be Mr. Super Consistency. But in some ways, I think he's got a bit of flack for his end product, when I don't think it's been his end product is his problem. His cutbacks are good. Generally, his crosses are good. I know he's just come back from injury, so I'm not judging him on that. But before then, when he had a bit of a run, I actually think what he was doing was putting the ball into the right places consistently, and we were starting to learn how to get on the end of those, or we should have been. Like, I think he's doing his bit of it. That's what you get Nonny for, and he does it. Tim made an interesting point that in this game, he saw him coming inside a little bit more, like that Saka drifting in thing. So he's going to add some variety to his game. And I don't know if you saw, he has a one-on-one coach for duels and for his game. And you think about it, and certainly, look, I've got no talent, but I'd be obsessive about wanting to get better and wanting to have a coach that works with me and thinks about me, because Arsenal's got a lot going on, and they're not always going to be thinking about how you develop your game. But I don't know if you saw that interview stuff, but it did. What was his guy's name? Saul Isaacson, I think is Isaacson Hurst.
I've seen the videos. And
very interesting. And it's not really about Nonny, right? It's about him and how he works with players. But it was very clear he rates Nonny as talking about a humble guy who's hard working. Like, when that was the question, Nonny was the name that came to mind. So I must say,
but when we were first linked to him, I dismissed it straight away, because I'm thinking, my initial thought was, that ain't gonna work, because to me, Nonny was the enemy, right? Because he was the guy that was competing with Saka for the England shirt. And I'm always looking at Saka, and I don't listen to Sam Matterface always bigging up Nonny as a Chelsea man. And so he was the enemy. But then when you thought it through and the links became more solid, so okay, let's have a look at him. And, if I spent 2-3 years on the podcast talking about we got to threaten the backline a little bit more, it'd be quite stupid of me to not look at a player in my mind who literally does exactly that, threatens the backline continuously. And we definitely need some directness, some running power, and we've added a lot of that in Gyökeres and Nonny in the summer sort of thing. So once you start to look at him as a purely what profile do we need, it made a lot of sense. I sort of sniffed my nose at Rafinha when we were linked a few years ago when he was at Leeds. I thought, again, same thing. Why do you want him? He plays on the right. But suddenly you see, actually, he can play inside. He can play on the left. And I think Nonny's going to have the same sort of arc. Right? I really do. I think he's got a lot about him. But yeah, I think, Paul, once you get to know him and his story and recognise how all his teammates in the club wanted him to come because he fit, and then his personality and how he reacted to the online kiddie stuff that was out there, right? So I think, you start to like him, didn't you? And that's really important as a fan, isn't it? Really important.
Yeah, like, I'm just signed up to watch his journey. I think it's going to be an interesting one. There's always a few players I like to latch onto and just kind of see where they go, see how they develop, and he's like one of them for me. He's absolutely the one where he's going to have a story at the club, and it's going to be interesting. The petition thing, right? 5,000 people signed the petition, and the amount of media coverage that look at all the
Yeah.
people that did not sign a petition, right? And yet they make it like
There are
only
tens of
5,000.
millions. There are
Yeah.
tens of millions of Arsenal fans around the world.
Yeah.
But let's just let the 5,000 be the voice of everybody.
But let's
right?
make our headline. There's a petition. And after all of the shite, they said they could only get 5,000 people who actually wanted to make a bit of a complaint. So I don't know. Our fans, like, we're not perfect. We're far from the worst. You know, we might have had a bit of a moan, a groan, but we're there for these guys.
Exactly. People are allowed to have an opinion, but I'm not sure we should be dragging out petitions, mate.
No.
Until we see them in the shorts.
I didn't sign it, Clive. I don't know about you, Clive.
I can work out technically how to do it, but yeah, no, I didn't sign it.
I tried, but the login didn't take. No. So, right, let's switch to the other side. So, Martinelli, interesting game. Great goal. I think it kind of helps him that the ball's kind of getting away with him. So, getting away from him as he's beating his man. The ball's kind of overrunning because that's what it has to do for him to get past. And like he only has one club in the bag and he whips that foot around and it's like absolutely perfect. And that's 5 in a row, 5 goals in 5 Champions League games.
How did you feel when he took that shot? What is your gut first feeling when you took that shot and he went in?
I don't, it was pleasurable, Clive.
Okay.
I don't know where you're going, but I don't know what my first thought was. I'll tell you what my second thought was, which is I'm constantly reminded that guy used to be a guy I had pegged for a shot monster.
There you go. So we're in the same place, right? So when you took that shot,
just get him off the touchline and get him taking shots again on the edge of the box, and we'll see that guy we saw 2-3 years ago.
Paul, you just said what's in half in my head, mate. That shot. It's been 2 years. I'm waiting for that shot.
Yeah.
It's been there for him. He just hasn't taken it. And he's got the ability to drop a shoulder, come inside, and really bang it towards the top postage stamp. And he used to do this all the time. Didn't care for anybody else. Much like Nonny, didn't care for anybody else. Maybe Nonny set the example, said, look what happens when you take a shot. You know, so what he has been doing is running to I call it the dark, runs to the dark on his weak foot, where the fullback wants him to go. I'm going to force you to a touchline. I'm going to pressure your cross. So the only place it can go is into the goalkeeper's hands or over the bar. And he's comfortable doing that or getting the corner. We take the corner and we score. Right? So there's that side of things. But I want him to do exactly that. Come inside and back himself. You know, and he used to do this all the time. So that was my first emotion. When I saw that shot, I thought, mate, come on. There you go. But after that, he turned into Jarzinho, didn't he? After that, he was like, he was unbelievable. That's one for the kids, not.
Yeah. I'm there.
So he did, his confidence grew, didn't it? And and then we all go back and think, actually, I listened to the IR and I'm with Phil at half time. I thought, mate, you're not getting this. You're not getting this. And after half time, it looks really not so good, right? So, and so a friend of mine messaged me and said, I had a tweet ready in my drafts to sort of really get stuck into Martinelli. And he said, but I didn't send it. He said, thank goodness. And I said to him, mate, I just deleted my draft. So yeah, this is what you learn, isn't it, as a fan? Just let it settle, let the game settle and see what comes out. And I thought he did really, really well second half.
Yeah. And of course, those guys are all thinking about Champions League. They know the world watches Champions League. And like he's living for that because that's his ticket to Brazil World Cup. And I really should have said those guys are thinking about World Cup, especially our Brazilian contingent. And we'll talk about another one a little later on when we get to Gabriel Jesus. But let's skip Gyökeres for now. We'll come back to him later because, as everybody I'm sure knows, there's been a lot of heat and noise around the Gyökeres discussion. So we'll come back. We'll pick him up a little bit later on and talk through that a bit. But so we have our Spanish midfield, as I would call them, the Real Sociedad lads. And like, I don't know that I've fully seen it yet. And we've had one conversation on our midfield from the Villa game, but I'm waiting to see more and more of it. And I think it's there. Certainly, ironically, the understanding that you want to see with Odegaard and Zubimendi, who are two very, very intelligent players, and whether they found the right understanding yet or not, it's hard to imagine they won't get there. Okay, this was against Brugge, Bruges, however you particularly like to call it. But there were times when they just had a real ease kind of finding each other and finding the players around them that I started to enjoy. And again, I'm probably over-egging the pudding a little bit, but it was certainly something I was looking to see in this particular game. And in the good spells, I thought they were both very clever on the ball, around each other, etc. So, Merino a little bit more perfunctory. I thought he was fine, but he certainly wasn't the main bill in terms of the midfield in this particular game. But how do you feel on the midfield?
Yeah, so we all have our sort of natural biases, and I tend to be able to see fullbacks and centre mids, like, you know, behind the ball centre mids a bit more easily and wingers maybe than number 10s. I've always put my hand up to that, you know. I struggled to see Smith Rowe clearly, and players of that ilk, you know. Obviously I appreciate them when they do it, but some people, that's the first place they go, you know. So whereas I could see Zubimendi's game from before he came, and I thought, wow, what a player this is. Because he's a player of facilitation, and he's a player that allows other people to be better. And I love that sort of player. And I also watch Arsenal from last season when I felt we missed opportunities to go forward, and he doesn't miss many to go forward. He chooses the right one. There isn't a weakness with him, whichever foot he wants to go on. Wherever the ball's saying, if the ball's ugly, he settles it down, it goes. And I just think people can move off of him. So we look more fluid going forward. I believe he can see the game completely, and you do not want to put dark glasses on him so he only has to see a certain amount. I think he can see the whole game. I think he can paint the whole picture, but he needs to be behind the ball to start that. And once he starts, he can go and do whatever he wants. I love that player. When we scouted him, I sort of said to Elliot, and I blurred it, and I said it before, so apologies for repeating myself. I think he's the most important signing of Arteta's era. And I said that, oh crikey, what have you said? And so far, he's settled quicker than snow, hasn't he? He just comes straight into the team, and he's bouncing that ball about. And I think he's changing how we look and feel. And maybe some of my reactions to Odegaard last week, I don't want that to be restricted, because I like what he's bringing to the team. You know, I'm liking the rhythm. I'm liking the fact that we're getting to people before they can settle into shape. So from a general performance point of view, we can choose if someone plays good or bad. It's up to you, right? But from a team pattern point of view, I love the fact that we're getting to people quicker. Our wide men are suddenly not 1-on versus 2, but maybe 1-on-1, and there's a reason for that, you know. So yeah, I really like his game. Merino's game, I can see it because he's a bit like me, a bit lumpy, you know, a bit lumpy around the pitch. But his brain is off the scale, isn't it? And he puts himself into areas that maybe he shouldn't do, his body doesn't want to do. That run back in the second.
There was a bit that had me laughing, Clive, where he was doing the Rice roll of like, I think it was like Forbes, the number 9, or something, streaking down the pitch, and he's chasing after him and to catch him up like Rice does, only he's not gaining on him. And then he does the last minute sliding dive to stop the shot like Rice does, only he's still 10 yards behind when he starts sliding. Has no impact on the play, but his heart's all there.
He was barely on your widescreen TV, but he still made a sliding tackle, right? So I bet you when they do a review of the game, they got to play that, right? Because and then Merino,
the effort on his face is so funny. It's like that is literally him flat out running, and he's still not gaining on.
He's still not there, so he's running back, thinking, Where's my left back? He's not there. Where's Hincapie? Well, he's followed his forward right out to the touchline. Cheers, lads. I've got this. The fastest bloke in their team. I've got this. And he's running back. He's got his head rocking backwards. So it's quite funny now because we saved it and got away with it. But but you know what? Pulled away my brains wide. I actually think that's fantastic that he took that on. That he tried to fill that gap, even though his body was not the right body to do it, you know. So I got a lot of admiration for him. A player that you know, with Trossard, I don't know where our seasons would be over the last 2-3 years. I just don't know where we'd be. You know, the two of them, their value is so high. Yeah. And Odegaard's a little bit more perfunctory in this game. What do you think of Odegaard in this game? What's your thoughts?
So, like, it's the classic. You watch it the second time, and you see all the stuff, right? I liked it. I wouldn't go, I wouldn't go gangbusters on really anything in the game, but I did like it. I thought they had a nice vibe. It was perfunctory, but then that was so there's one moment, right, where I think it's roughly halfway through the first half. Odegaard is doing that thing that maybe has something to get some people getting a little antsy, where he's dropped super deep. He's kind of a Zubimendi level, closer to the right, almost closer to where White is. And he's on the ball, and he looks up the pitch, and there's no lane, but he finds a lane to Merino, who's right up where the kind of just south of where the centre forward. There's no pass there, and yet there is, and they find each other. I'm like, oh, that's a kind of a Real Sociedad moment. Like, I'm projecting here, lads. I get it, but like, there's a moment where I'm like, oh, that is not a pass anybody sees, but Odegaard sees it. Merino sees it, and that was pure intelligence. And I think Merino then hits Gyökeres with the pass. It didn't come to anything in the box in the end, but it was like one of those delicious moments. So I think there's enough very nice moments without it being, I wouldn't go gangbusters on it. I thought he had a nice game.
Yeah, I thought we had 3 sprinters ahead of him, didn't we? 3 sprinters ahead of him, and I thought he was deeper. But when we're away in Europe, I actually don't mind that. I think it's quite good to settle the game down. Sometimes you overload the back end of the pitch. Say, you lot ain't touching this ball, mate. 25 passes later, they're in now dancing to our tune. So there's phases you go through in the game. And I thought, come on then. Do what you got to do. Get around it, get on the ball, start bouncing it about, and start getting control that we can now play in the areas that you want to play in over time. So I was quite pleased with that. And I know the first half was a little bit lumpy at the start until the goal went in, but I was quite pleased with that. For me, the overall thing is about gaining control of a football match. However you want to do that, you do what you have, right? And he's got a talent to receive it anywhere, tip-tap out of that space and keep it moving, and then roll around the other side and receive it again, tip-tap out of that place. This stuff has an impact to people. It stops them getting excited. It quietens down the crowd. It stops people getting onto us. And the only time that they got into the game is when we do a slack pass and then we get counted on, So as long as we're accurate, that's absolutely fine. Without Rice being there, I thought it's important that Odegaard sort of had a bit more of a ball dominance. Do you see what I mean? Yep. And so Marino's a bit more of a gap filler. Yep. You need me to be here? Okay, I'll get there for you. Do you see what I mean? You need to be that, but he's not going to be ball dominant. He's not going to be high touch. So I think we need 2 high touch players in there. Whereas when this is my challenge now, when the 3 £100 million centre mids in Rice, Odegaard and Zubimendi are together, what's that balance going to look like? What roles are we going to accept? What's the best roles for them versus the game state and the opposition that we're playing? And that's the fun we have going forward, because we're in the Champions League final tomorrow. That's the midfield 3 that are going to play, right? So how they interchange, how they work, to me, is on my mind, right? It's what I walk about thinking about. Not everyone's thinking about, but that's where I am. And I'm not sure we're there yet, but we've got loads of time, haven't we? Loads of time.
Yeah. So I had 2 frustrations from it. I mean, it was a tasty sausage, but in the, as they say about making a sausage, there's still some bits of eyelid, toenail clippings, the sphincter.
Okay, mate.
It's all in there. But the sausage was tasty. But like, once we got the goal, they just had the run of the game. And I talked a little bit with Tim about this. It is one of the enigmas of football. You go up a goal, and then you go from being able to string 27 passes together to struggling to string 3 together. And it was a bit of a frustration within the team. Now, it's the nature of maybe a ramshackle lineup you string together for Champions League where they're finding each other. But you see a version of it in the Premier League each week too with all teams. But like, it was a precipitous drop off in terms of control over the game, where they just, like, they had their way with us till they got to the edge of the box, and their finishing wasn't all that, and our defense was reasonable enough. Yeah. But I was frustrated a little bit, especially in the first half, that once we got a goal, they kind of dominated the play. And with that, our left-hand side, I mean, I thought Merino was fine and stuff, but we really weren't producing much down our left-hand side till Martinelli did. Well, Zubimendi floats it, like that guy goes where he goes. He spots a bit of space. I think at the start of the second half, we had 2 throw-ins in a row, which is how he ended over that side, and he ended up being the man on the spot and hitting it with his wrong foot, though Tim would say there are no wrong feet, there are only wrong players. Puts in an absolute dream of a cross, phenomenal stuff. But
should have reboned it really, but let him get away with it, right? So,
so we have 2 worldy-ish moments from the left, but the overall play and creativity from the left, not that great. And we'll talk about Gyökeres a little bit more, but maybe I'd hope there'd be a bit more of a relationship forming there with Gyökeres tending to peel left, Martinelli over there, Merino, who's a clever player, Maslow Skelly stepping into midfield, and at least to my eye, I would have liked to see more from the left-hand side, apart from a couple of wonder goals or wonder assists.
Yeah, I think Miles has been very steady with his passing. So I found myself on the settee going, go on, mate, do it early. Just do it early, get out behind it. You know, so but he was making sure in his accuracy, particularly there was one he got wrong in the centre of the pitch. And after that, he said, right, I'm in a bit of debit here, I need to get in credit. So he made sure of his passing movements. And I understand that on the pitch when you're trying to make sure that you regain trust from your manager so you get more minutes. And that's what goes for a player's mind. So Martinelli, sometimes when he's got his back to goal, I get worried what he's going to do next. And so it's important that he gets the ball early so he can receive it on the half turn. So his first thought is to go forward. By the time it comes to him, he has to protect it. So he's got his back to goal. And that's when we don't see the best of him and combination play, etc. We didn't have Calafiori popping up everywhere, you know, because Miles was playing a bit more inverted. And Gyökeres, although on paper, mate, and all the YouTubes we saw in the summer, he wasn't really spinning into that left corner, really, you know, to create the angle. So we were quite staid on that side, which we have been for a couple of years, let's be honest, until maybe some of this year. And it's been okay, right? So, but yeah, I take your point. I felt the left-hand side was full of promise without actually delivering. But the right-hand side player was player of the match and Champions League player of the week, had a spectacular moment. And so, the game gravitated towards him because he was very decisive and quick in his actions. And so, yeah, it was just one of those games. Against a team, should probably a level of, level of the team we're going to play at the weekend in Wolves, maybe. And I watched Bruges play against Villa last year in the league phase, and they beat them. I think Villa might have knocked them out in the knockout phase on the last of 16. And I thought they were really good, really good. I'm not saying they were bad, but maybe sometimes, unlike when we walked in to play Chelsea and Sunderland, I think we walked into Bruges at the right time, lost their manager, a bit of a protest, and they were a little bit flat. Whereas I have seen them before, and they looked great against Barcelona in I think it's a 3-3 draw. And so, yeah, I think we made them look not so good. Were we really, really good, or were they really, really bad? I don't know, but I don't really care now. Just get on the bus. We're on the way home. So
did the trick for us either way. So let's jump to the centre backs and Norgaard. I don't think many people thought that. They were wondering where he was. Where's Waldo a little bit with him? And when he does pop up, he's playing centre back, and I'm like, my first reaction is, well, he needed to play him somewhere, and we're a little tight on centre backs. But maybe there's a little bit, maybe not chess, but checkers here in that, look, who knows? He may, anything happens to anybody else, he may actually need a right centre back. And here's a 90-minute audition, get him comfortable with the role. And I think he did pretty good. He looked the part. I mean, we faced plenty of action, let's be honest. I don't know if it was a full test for him, but certainly that area of the pitch, one way or another, they got at our defensive line often enough. What were your thoughts on Norgaard or centre-back pairing in general? Do you think this was just a complete one-off, or is he thinking, well, this could you never know. This could come in handy if Saliba, if Saliba doesn't have full fitness, and like Timber had an interesting time and a bit of a niggle. And in some ways, Norgaard, at least to the eye, looks more of a centre back. That look, Timber's brilliant, and I wouldn't diminish that in any sense. But he now looks to me like a player who should be a right back, who maybe can fill in at centre back, whereas Norgaard kind of looks like a centre back.
Yeah, I think I said to you earlier. I think I've said it on here. I've said it in my sleep. That I can see Norgaard coming in as a right centre back in a 3 to end the game. You know, he looks like it. You know, and because sometimes we go to a back 5. I just had that feeling that he may end up doing that. So when he was named as a centre back, I was feeling like, yeah, I could see that coming because his defensive play is actually really good. How he reads things. I don't think he's I know he's not. You can't play through him like Zubimendi. But I tell you what, he can win his tackles and he knows when to jump and go and get it, and he gets it and he gives it. And I did see the couple of pre-season games where he did really, really well. So they're in my mind. I felt for him that he was disconnected from the squad and wasn't part of it. And when you're a senior guy setting examples and telling people how to be and all the rest of it, eventually over a period of time, they look at you and say, yeah, mate, but you're not playing. Do you know what I mean? And so when you play, your words have more gravitas. And so I thought it's very important that he played. I think we missed opportunities at Sunderland to get him on their last 5. We missed opportunities in other places, maybe even at Villa, to get him on. But I know the Villa sub opportunities were taken away from us. But there have been games that I felt we needed to steady. And he's a steadying type of player. And the way I described his role before yesterday was he'd be our Rob Holding of midfield. Now come in and just close out. Do you know what I mean? Close out things and play the games that we need to take minutes off people. But we haven't used him that way. We haven't closed him out. But maybe he will be the Rob Holding, the third centre back that comes on, right? So whatever you got to do in this group to be part of it and to make sure that we can get over the line, he may have found a role for himself, and the joy of this game was finding people for me, rediscovering people, getting minutes into people. I think it's been that's the joy. And I think the squad and the club has had a really good night. And he is now part of the group. And the manager spoke so well of him. I mean, have you heard him speak so well of any one player?
It was conspicuous, right? And this is a guy he's given 15 minutes to in the Premier League. And we can all see, identify, feel that there was way more minutes for him to play in this first 14, 15 games of the season. So it was at odds. He could not have talked more highly about how Norgaard had come into the squad, committed, his training, his ethic, how he thought about him. But he's got 15 minutes on the pitch. And so I wonder, maybe there's nothing to wonder here, but I do wonder if he's playing a little checkers, at least in terms of he may need him at centre back. We got some cup games coming up, but it is still odd that he has not considered him a midfielder. Yeah,
not yet. But the Zubimendi Rice, they're so flipping good, aren't they? I mean, let's be honest. If you're back up to them two, you're in a bit of trouble, aren't you? Really? Let's be honest.
And Zubimendi, if you think about it, it's maybe a bit of a cliche or an easy place to go to, but I do absolutely think that is now Arteta on the pitch, right? Used to be Odegaard, and I'm not saying it ain't Odegaard from an attacking perspective, but Zubimendi, mindset-wise, they must be absolutely on the same wavelength in how you control a game from that sixth spot on the pitch, that DM spot that Arteta played for Arsenal, that Zubimendi plays for Arsenal. Spanish midfielders who see the world a particular way. Arteta was often criticised for being a little dull in that position, a bit of a tempo side-to-side merchant, but that's how you pull the strings. And Zubimendi's pretty low-key, apart from when he's doing worldy stuff. Outside of, it's a bit like what was it? Mrs. Lincoln, outside of the assassination, what did you think of the play? So, like, outside of Zubimendi's worldy moves, his game can be appropriately dull, which is kind of what you want from there, right? It's about tempo. It's about letting other players shine, giving them the ball at the right time in the right position. I do think, given how fit and available Zubimendi is, I'm not surprised Arteta doesn't look to rest him, because that's how he wants his team playing. It's control from back there.
I absolutely, and he's very, very good, right? The whole of Europe wanted him, and we got him. And there was a reason that price was an absolute bargain. There's a reason why I called him a £100 million player, because that's what he is. Right? So if Enzo Fernandez is worth, what, 115? Well, you tell me. Right? So we've got him, and it's hard for Norgaard to compete with that, right? So, because he does a lot of stuff, right? But what Norgaard does do very well is he fills holes, and he gets after people, and he's very responsible, and he's just a fantastic professional. And not every game's the same, right? That's a European game, full of flow, you get time to get it, receive it, turn around, look up, and pick your next pass. Not every game's like that. That's not what we experienced at Chelsea and at Villa Park. It's a different game. You've got to get your elbows out. This is war, right? You've got to go with these people. You've got to run with people coming off the sides. It's a different game. You've got to really protect that back line with your life, because you're fighting for 3 points, right? And there's going to be time for Norgaard. I'm just pleased he's now in the picture. And we've all got a picture of him. And so we'll now consider him based on the last performance. And so he's had a great night. And what he doesn't need now is to not be in the squad at the weekend. He needs to be part of the picture. There's a mystery around Saliba, isn't there? There's a mystery that's developing. Yeah. That days has turned into weeks. And it just sort of happened. Pre-Chelsea, it's like flipping hell. Where'd that come from? And so we've got Wolves at the weekend and Everton after a week. He needs to make an appearance soon. Right? So, because the Everton game is not one we can pass up, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Interesting.
Yeah, but it does buy us 10 days of rest and recuperation potentially for Saliba, and hopefully that will be enough, because we're not the same without those guys, not when we're really put to the test.
They're too good.
Let's loop back to Viktor Gyökeres, who got a lot of heat. Tim and I didn't even discuss him on the instant reaction. Yeah,
but
came up.
You discussed Belgium and how it affected the wars, but you didn't quite get to the one player that everyone was wanting to have a row about.
I heard what everybody else was talking about. I'm like, wow, we just and I don't know what Tim's thinking was, but my thinking was, it's his kind of feels like his second game back. He's got some minutes. He didn't really do anything. It's almost kind of what I expect from Viktor Gyökeres. It takes a while for him to get back. I'm not going to freak out about it yet. He gets better with a bit of time. I mean, one of the things he has to do is to get back quicker to more like his self, and for the team to snap back to playing with him, and for him to snap to playing with the team. So I decided not to freak out too much of it. I mean, he was all right. He looked okay running around. He looked reasonably fit, I thought. He didn't look that heavy to me. But he was, I'll be surprised if he showed up on our pass map anywhere. So I skipped him. I'm like, I'll give him another game. It's almost like we didn't play him. I'm giving him another game to run around and get better. I think he'll be a lot better. I don't know how good he's going to be for us, but he's played a couple of games where I liked him. I'm assuming he's going to play some more games I like him, and I'm not freaking out yet. In fact, I'm not freaking out at all. I assume, he's getting to a reasonable level. Didn't we all think he was getting to a reasonable level, and now we're all losing our minds over Viktor Gyökeres? And I'm like, it's a bit like Nonny Madueke. He was really good when he got injured, and we were like, well, what's going on the last couple of games? And now we're starting to see that player again. And I get it. I wish he'd get back to but he will get to that level, and then we'll see how much more he's got. So that's where I'm at with Viktor Gyökeres, but it doesn't seem to be where anybody else is at with him. And I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't think he is.
Right. Let me give you the base of my thinking with Gyökeres. Right. So it could be long, Paul. I don't know if you want to do an ad break now or afterwards. but this is where my head is with Gyökeres. So when we were first looking at him and Sesko, remember those days? I was originally a Sesko guy. Straight away, I'm thinking Kai Havertz has given us the best time at centre forward. Let's get somebody like Kai Havertz, but a bit quicker and a bit younger, which allows us to develop that position. Great, let's get him in. And over time, I thought, you know what? You got to think of this differently. You got to think of it from a profile perspective. And we don't have a true centre forward in the club since Eddie Nketiah has left. And so Gyökeres was more a true centre forward rather than a facilitating forward, a target man forward. He was a mobile target man, physical, that runs in behind and is a pure 9, doesn't think about anything else. I just need to score and be. I thought, you know what? That's what we need. We don't have that. We have Kai Havertz. We have Merino, who can do an impression of Kai Havertz a step slower, and we have Jesus, who's a wing forward. And I thought, this is what we need. And I still feel that way. From a squad perspective, if you have something else, you don't want to duplicate it. Right? So, and we need a diversity of profiles in our forward line, because there will be a day when we're being pinned back and everyone's going to say, I wish we had a centre forward who can run in behind. Do you know what I mean? And so that's the key, that we have the weapons. Now, my worry with Gyökeres is at the moment is that he took a while to build up. Then he had Newcastle. Bang. I thought he was excellent. Then he had the Burnley game. Excellent. He had a couple of home games, flat track bully games where he's done fine, which I've seen. I think I've not been concerned about.
Atletico Madrid.
Yeah. And the Leeds game, I watched that. The Forest game, he was excellent in that game. And so I've seen it in my own eyes. So, okay, you're arriving. I'm going to give you a break because, you're building up. You didn't do a pre-season. Then he gets injured at Burnley against probably his best half, which I never saw, right? So I haven't got that picture in my head. And then he's come back. And he's come back like he did in August. Do you see what I mean? It's like he's gone right the way back to ground zero. I'm thinking, no. This is not, we can't have this. I can't wait that long again. Now, Arteta seems cool. He says he's got to ramp up his minutes after the injury. We don't really know what that injury was. We haven't got a lot of transparency. Maybe a hamstring. We don't know how deep it was, etc. So that's been interesting for me, Paul. So now he's playing this game and everyone's talking about his technical failings, particularly holding the ball up and his movement or lack of touches. And then Gabriel Jesus comes on, tippy toes onto the pitch with velvet slippers.
Nightmare scenario for poor old Viktor Gyökeres. On that night, who makes his reappearance? Only a fecking worldie with touch, speed, hold up, like the best hold up number 9 on the planet. Some thought.
Yeah, popping up at the ground everywhere. Left wing, right wing, centre mid. It's like all the things that we used to admonish him for not being a centre forward, by the way. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And,
so in many ways, Clive, it's a him problem, not an us problem. We got Havertz, we got Jesus, we got Merino.
If we can mould them all together, there's a hell of a player in there somewhere. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so Jesus comes on the pitch and he understands our angles. And the word is angles, Paul. And I got to go here, mate. I got to go here. Gyökeres did what Eddie used to do. Receive it straight. And it bounced off him like a trampoline, right? And it's difficult. When a defender can see the tunnel by which the ball is arriving, he can get close to you, he can wrap around you, and he can affect your touch. You rewatch that game again and watch Jesus get on the angle. He's on the angle. He drops out into space. He receives the ball and he stops it. As soon as he stops it and moves it back against the grain, guess who's in charge of that duel? Jesus is in charge of that duel. He's got you on your heels, and it's all in the preparation before the ball comes. Gyökeres, my coaching tip to him was get on the angle, son. Get on the angle so you can roll out or you can cut back against the grain. If he's coming straight towards you and your legs are not bent and you're not setting the ground, this is England. Normally it's England. This is England. And they're going to push you. And Michael Oliver don't care about you. Do you know what I mean? Anti-Taylor don't care about you. You hit the ground, don't bother looking up at him. This ain't Portugal. Play on, play on, play on. Get your angles right. Receive the ball so you're in control of things. Get your arm out stiff. Hold people off you. Don't get into contact with them. And then now you're in charge. If they come into you, you're in charge of the ball, and you want to protect it, like Saka does. He throws his leg across the front of the ball and he takes the foul. So Gyökeres has got to decide, when that ball's coming to me, do I want to protect it to connect? Do I want to get a foul for the team? Or do I want to turn out myself and run away from the crime scene? When the ball's coming, I'm not sure he has that picture what he wants to do next clear in his mind. And that comes with continuity and minutes. And I've seen him do it, so he can do it. But the ball's coming up, decide. But that work's got to be done before. As you think it's coming towards you, start your move to the side. So they'll give it to your feet and then you can come back where the ball's come from. When it's straight, you're in a bit of trouble, mate. You'll become basic, you become hard to read, and it becomes a man-on-man thing, and that's more difficult. And so it's simple stuff. I say it to it's simple stuff, Paul. That's what I'm saying to you. It's simple stuff. And Jesus highlighted, didn't he, mate, when he came on?
Yeah. And like what I love about him is the spot he likes to drop to is that left 8 spot.
Mm.
And that opens up our left-hand side. And if it's Martinelli, whoever you got over there, suddenly we're an absolute threat. Now, if you had two guys, Martinelli on the left wing, you got Gabriel Jesus in your orbit, and you got problems. That guy is going to kill you one way or the other. If you keep the two guys on Martinelli, he's absolutely going to kill you.
Yeah.
He's going to free Martinelli. He's going to bring other players in around there. So, like, I don't know how excited we should get about Gabriel Jesus, but man, if he can get his fitness, keep his fitness, he's got a little time here. We need him for the second half of the season for sure. And okay, we need him now, but I think that's unrealistic. If he can build up, as Tim pointed out, he's going to be absolutely obsessed with seeing if he can have a late rush into the Brazil side for the World Cup. So there's nobody more motivated on the planet to get fit, stay fit, to be happy with his minutes as long as they showcase his ability. And who knows, right? We'll see. I mean, I don't know how hopeful one should get, but he could be an absolute killer app for us in certain games and in certain moments. He doesn't need to start lots of games.
Yeah,
he could have a bunch of 30-minute performances that are a proof of concept of his capabilities.
Yeah, football is a lovely thing. Sometimes you can see how happy people were for him.
Yeah,
11 months, right? I think it was early January, wasn't it? When FA Cup Man United, I was at that game when he went down. He just sort of flipping on, cheers, mate. Just scored loads of goals against Palace, and next minute you're down. Typical Arsenal's luck of last season. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm thinking that he's in a bit of trouble. We may have sold him in the summer. We can't sell him now. So we have to carry that player, top money, one of the top paid players in the club. This is a problem. So there's a lovely human side of all the other players who watched him for 11 months in the gym, not playing. See him come out there and can look after the ball still and still move well. Looked actually really quite sprightly. And then there's the business side of things, where you have somebody on that money coming towards the last 18 months of his contract. And this is an important moment for him to show the rest of the world I can still play, to show his Brazilian country I can still play, to create opportunities for himself going forward, whether they be at Arsenal or elsewhere. So this is like a major night for him. It's part of the good story. This is what football can offer you. It can change in 2 minutes. You suddenly show people what you have and people find a role for you. And suddenly, could you just imagine a situation where he's playing centre forward and Eze's off the left? And suddenly they can interchange. And Eze rolls into centre forward. Can you imagine the 1-2s they'll have together? I mean, good luck getting the ball. You've got to bring your own ball with those two, right? So you find new balances all the time. And suddenly think, actually, he becomes more useful to me due to the players I have in my team right now, right? So I find it interesting, his resurrection. That's the right word.
Yeah.
His resurrection. But also really happy for him. Day one, right? Really happy. He's probably worked very hard towards that moment. So really, really, really pleased for him.
It's all about fitness. I mean, it's true of any player, but like it's there for him, right? If he could string together the fitness, he could be a major, major part of the second half of our season. And if it's a little more patchy, but like that's the beauty of so many games, so many challenges. The fact that there's always somebody getting a niggle. You'll get your look in if you're if you're good enough, and if you got the talent, and if you've got the fitness. So
Yeah.
I think the only question is, does he have the fitness? He could be huge for us.
He can play. But the thing is, not only can he play, he knows how to play with us lot. The players that he knows how to play with all of them. They just bounce the ball to him. He just knows where to be. He's moving ahead of time and receiving it in areas and playing 1-2s and then moving again. It's like, okay, you haven't played for 11 months. It's like you picked up the baton immediately, right? So, and then we're watching Gyökeres.
Jesus.
We're watching Gyökeres, and we've got to be honest and be faithful, to what we've seen. Some of those, he doesn't feel like he's attuned to the team yet. I was on the train on the way home, and I just only thought, I wonder how many times Jesus has played for Arsenal versus Gyökeres. Yet we're comparing them. Gyökeres has a thing where he likes to move and move early, right? So his trick is to try to get in behind as the ball's arriving to the passer, and then he rolls and he goes and he attacks the space. He's not doing that so much because the ball's not coming, right? So now we're asking to be technical. Well, guess what? He's not technical as Gabriel Jesus. I'm not sure there are many in the club that are, by the way, right? Yeah. He's not as technical as maybe even Merino on occasions in his hold-up play and his ability to twist out of danger. He's not nimble, but he's got that ability to see things. And so he's got work to do. He's got work to do. Or have we got work to do? Therein lies the debate. But my position is we need a centre-forward in Arsenal's football club. A direct running centre-forward. There will be a day for him. Yep. It wasn't against Bruges, I'm afraid.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So we also saw Ethan. I thought he had a very nice cameo. Hooked up nicely with Gabriel Jesus and lots of people. Had a little space to run into, which is always when he's at his best, but he reminded us how good he is.
We worry about everybody that's not playing, right? And we think, why is he not playing? He could have played here, he could have done this. I thought he was introduced at the right time in this game when the game was more or less done, but I really liked his performance. I've had concerns about him, shall I say, and his ability to impose his personality on a football match, particularly as Martin Odegaard is our number 10 and he's full of personality, goes wherever he likes, and but I thought Ethan's positioning was really good. He gets his shots off like he does every game from inside the box. He's a threat, but he can twist and run out of pressure, and he's not I think he shares the ball quite nicely, knowing the next pass on, and I was quite impressed with that because I thought we might be losing him, disconnecting from the group, but I thought he really bounced that ball around nicely and maybe reminded me anyway of his talent and where it's at. And I can hear Elliot's voice in my ears saying, "Do you think we should use him on the right wing a bit more?" Well, Nonny sort of shut that door right now. But there should be a way where we can find a few more minutes. But I think those minutes are coming. To be honest, Paul, we got after the Everton game, we roll into the dangerous period, don't we? Into the Palace game and Brighton, and there's so many minutes out there. And Nonny's sort of interview after the game saying, I think it was Nonny sort of saying, there's a lot of minutes for everybody, and sometimes we got to recognise that there's just too many minutes. Just say one thing, Paul. I read something about Trent Alexander-Arnold today, that he's having injury struggles at Real Madrid. And they're concerned about him on his €325,000 a week. And they're wondering if Liverpool have overplayed him. And my eyes went straight towards, because I only care about Arsenal. I hope we don't. I hope we haven't overplayed Saka. That's the key thing for me. And so that Nonny game last night was really important. Modern football now and the attrition of it. I don't want to be accused of reducing a player's peak because we needed him with so much when he was young. And even though Saka sometimes economical in games, or he doesn't always get on in games, or he has the opportunity to rest, I'm really pleased about that. That's going to extend his peak career. And we need his athleticism. We need him to stay injury-free. We need his brain power. He's a decisive player. And if Nonny helps that, I think that's our responsibility to a player that we've produced. And we shouldn't just be Saka, by the way, but others that we play when they're quite young, to take our time with them, to make sure we don't reduce their careers. I think it's so important. So I just read that and I thought of Saka, and that's why I think Nonny's performance was so encouraging yesterday.
Yeah. Well said. So we also saw Marley Salmon come on. You can over-index that maybe, but it was nice for the lad, and why not? We were 3-0 up, and it's a message to the academy, right?
Yeah.
It's another way of saying, believe in Arsenal, believe in the academy. There's a path for you, even if it's a tough path. Look who's on the pitch. We got Ethan out there, we got Miles, we got Marley Salmon. Was there more to it than that, Clive?
I think if you think about this season as a whole, we've had Andre Harriman and Noose also get some time on the pitch.
Obviously, I like him.
Yeah, he's good.
I think I've seen very little of him, but he looks the part. And I'm not saying he's going to score 30 goals for us or anybody ever, but I could see him being quite useful in the squad going forward based on so I like him.
Yeah, they're all part of Jack Wilshere's under-18s team that I happened to see pre-season maybe last summer. Excuse me. And I liked him then, Paul. Looked really bendy and tall.
Clive, hey, let's stop for an ad break right here. Let me check the time for Elliot. Thanks, Elliot. Great ad break. I'll throw in a quick indeed. It might be appropriate depending on what your final ad was there. Clive, you were saying before Elliot rudely interrupted you for the ad break.
I had a bit of a coughing fit there. Sorry, Paul. Andre Harriman, bendy, tall forward, used to be a winger, loved him then. And Marley Salmon played. So I went to watch Max Salmon, right? So I come back and, oh my God, what have I just seen? And I messaged a few people that watch youth football a lot. I've just seen him. Oh my goodness, what a player! And I guess, Clive, what do you think about the number 2, Marley Salmon? I went, he was all right. Shit. I thought I didn't quite notice him in the same. I went to see Max Salmon, right? And but people were talking to me then when he was 14, saying he's gonna go very, very far. And when you watch him at his age group, Man United Cup game, he was brilliant.
This is like when I went to see a Bruce Springsteen concert in Birmingham, and Paul Young was the opening act, and I had no idea who Paul Young was. And it turned out he ended up being a real star. And
yeah.
I got a few of his albums. So a bit like your Max Down and Marley Salmon story.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they were saying to me, and I just sort of went, I did see him, but I wasn't looking. But to be honest, you only got to get on the YouTubes and realize that he's smooth, mate. He's smooth, and he's, if he continues, he's going to do really, really well, right? So he's in the England sort of camp already, on the way age group camps, and he's just a very nice, modern Rio Ferdinand style centre back, that could play. Obviously, introduce a 16-year-old. That's a great place introducing a right back, isn't it? We can see the game. You haven't got responsibilities. So, great night for the club. Also, great night for all those young players who also are trying to convince the sign that we don't know their names yet. And they can see this and they can say, well, it's real. It really is real. There is a chance here to not be farmed out around the world, but actually get through to the first team. And that's the best advert we can have if people like that get on the pitch.
Yeah. And so, to take a little step back on the best advert side of it, I also think, you look at where we're at in Champions League right now. We played, 6 games, 18 points, positioned at the top of the table, positioned to have home advantage, hopefully through the various rounds. Made the semi-final last year against PSG. Season before that played Bayern Munich in whatever it was, the quarterfinal. And now you look at it as an advertisement to players like I had to scratch my head a little bit about Nonny coming to us, knowing that he was going to play. His best position is Saka's position. And you say, look, there's a lot of games. These players all want to play Champions League, not just group stage anymore. The players who come into Arsenal going forward, the level of backup or squad player we can have, the dream we can sell realistically now is not just we're in the Champions League, we're in the group stages and we might make the next round or not. Arsenal is now a vehicle, a platform for players who may not think they can take Saka's spot off him, but if they're good enough, know they're going to get a lot of opportunities, a lot of games. They're going to be part of a squad that's competing for Premier League, for Champions League. And it is that kind of moment you hinted at earlier where you step back and say, we've come a long way. And although, why are we in the Champions League? We want to win the thing. Where we have come to as a club and our standing, we're now currently, right, there's a long way to go, and the second half of the Champions League is a different beast to the first half, but we are currently just about, for the second season in a row, one of the best, and I would say this season, the best team in the Champions League to this point, and the world's eyes are on the Champions League. Up-and-coming players look at Arsenal and say, well, if I can get in the mix at that club, that's where I want to be on that platform. To play. They want to play against PSG and Bayern and Real Madrid and Barcelona. And there's not much guarantee of that with many clubs who will scrape it into the Champions League. But with us, you've a really good chance of being on that stage year in, year out, going forward from here. That's the vibe Arsenal has now. That's what Arteta and the ownership and the management at Arsenal have done. And so, okay, it was just a Wednesday game, Bruges, kind of, you can feel it's a bit of a dead rubber. Or you can also take a step back and say, everything means something to some degree. And where are we at in the Champions League, and where we're going, and what is our status now, elevated as a beacon out to talented players for a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, who are making their choices. Do they need to be a nail-on starter, or do they have the patience to play and work their way through and become a starter at Arsenal in a team that is going, hopefully, potentially going deep against the big clubs every year in the Champions League? And we shouldn't take that for granted.
Well said, Paul. I think when we lost Kai Havertz in the very first game of the season, and suddenly we were bringing in Eze, that's almost like a risk decision. Right, to say, okay, we're in a bit of trouble here. We got a forward that we're trying to integrate, just new to the league. We obviously Saka's fresh off an operation in the previous year, so we got to make sure we look after him. And we got Trossard in there, we got Martinelli in there. We're gonna need one more, and we end up with Merino centre forward again quite quickly. And Eze scored some major important goals. And what does that do? That means, mate, that Arsenal are going to be in Champions League again next year. And my business head on, that's very important. I wonder what the true number is, commercially associated to being in the Champions League. It's our third season, so it'll be hopefully fourth next year. We're starting to get a level of place where you can sell yourself as a club as a true, not a top 10 club in Europe, but a top 5 club in Europe. And that's a different number. That's a different level of impact, which means we can build our squad, we can build our quality. And now we have this best squad in the world. We may have overspent a touch, maybe got to lose a couple, but best squad in the world type discussion that we're having. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of football respond. And I've got this word that Elliot said the other day, to the attritional nature of modern sport, and how we select teams, how we select squads. Will the fiscal rules change to allow more spend? Will squad sizes now change? Because all the international competitions are getting bigger. And so there is very little rest time. I'm not blaming the international breaks, because international breaks actually are now a rest, because you play 2 games in 2 weeks. Whereas a lot of the time, Arsenal are playing 3 games in 1 week. So and so we're just competing the different associations. So I want to see what happens next year, Paul. If we are successful, how other teams furnish their squads. And I think this is a really, post the World Cup, this is a really interesting juncture for football. I'm so interested in which direction we all go.
Yeah. And I think, there's a couple of clubs who you can say have the same, cast the same long shadow, I think. You could say City, Liverpool. But it's really only 3 clubs you can say, where Nonny can look at that squad and say, okay, I'm starting behind Saka, but they got so much going on. They're going so deep in the Champions League. I'll do it. I will take. Okay, I'm sure it's a nice pay package, but it's his career too, right? And if there's not many, there's that handful of teams. There's PSG, there's Bayern, there's Real Madrid, there's Barcelona. There's not a lot of teams where top players who are not necessarily the starter. And you got Nonny, you got Trossard, Martinelli sticking around, and Eze joining. None of them know that they're going to be a starter. You got Ben White competing with Timber. You got Mosquera coming in at a young age, who should be a starter at a club, but he's joined us because he thinks he's going to get enough game time that is meaningful in a big club doing important things. You've got Hincapié joining us from Werder Bremen, Bayer Leverkusen, and he's got a real career. Like they're Calafiori competing with Miles Lewis-Skelly, and there's ones where you're scratching your head saying, like a few years ago, you'd say, why are they coming exactly? Given the fight that they're going to have on the hand, and why are they coming? Because we're at the elite table, going deep, playing big games against big clubs. All minutes are important. All minutes are significant. The games that get there. So
it took a while to get here, Paul. We have to remember that, don't we? We took a while to get here, and we're here. So what does here look like? What are we trying to do, right? So when you're in a game, when it comes to winning time, which is only around the corner, right? When you're in a game and a game has gone a different way, we're getting pushed back. You turn to your bench, and I've got 2 forwards I can bring on that can do something and change this game, right? So only last year, in the Champions League quarterfinal, we brought on Kieran Tierney as left wing, right? So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to have the ability to deploy tools on any given day, right? So that we can say, okay, this is what I need for this day to change the game again. So, mate, you got to beat us twice now because I'm coming again with something else, and that's what we need, right? Because we all want to win. We all want to have the great day out. Well, I certainly do. Right, have the big day out, and what we're trying to do is de-risk that situation by having the tools and the appropriate players that are all singing off the same hymn sheet. And this year, that's what it feels like. And Christian Norgaard is an example of that, isn't he? An example of that. Someone who hasn't played, that comes in and says, this is what I've got for you, lads. I'll look after this bit of the pitch. Really good, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Have we done Bruges? We good?
I think we have.
Missed anything along the way?
I think we have. I'm sure someone will say, you didn't talk enough about him, But I think we got most things. But the most important thing is, after my grumpiness last weekend, that I feel a lot more happy about where we're heading. And
it's a reset, right? It's its own bubble away from the Premier League, where, again, you walk into this alternative universe where we're the best team in Europe. That's quite a shock from what you just left.
We haven't got past Wolves yet, mate.
Okay.
but I think I feel a lot more happy. And again, the problems that we have, or not say problems, the things that sort of make me think about the team, they're first world problems. How we integrate superstar players into a superstar team. Do you know what I mean? They're first world problems to me. So
yeah. Good. Right. Well, let's wrap that one. And we got Wolves at the weekend. Look, here's my tactical assessment of Wolves. They're a bit shite, Clive. Maybe you shouldn't overthink it, but let's overthink it for a little bit. They're not very good. Are they dangerous? Do they have any fangs, Clive? Anything we should be worrying about there,
mate? I don't know what's happened to them. Honestly, they've been really. I quite liked Wolves. I like them as a club. I like how they play. I like their manager, who used to be Pereira, I think his name. I liked him. Then it all went wrong. I watched them concede late goals and 2 goals in injury time and lose games, and what's going on? They'd be in the crowd, fighting with their fans, and I'm thinking, what's happened to this club? What's happened? They've been allowed to drift, and they got a new manager in now. He used to manage Luton, so I know him a little bit, and he came from Watford to Luton and then went to Middlesbrough. He walked out of Middlesbrough, and I'm thinking, okay, you're in your dream club because you was a player at Wolves, but mate, I watched him against Man United, and he hasn't made an impact yet, Paul. That's what I'm going to say. He best get the cones out, mate, because those players don't know where to stand. That back line, was so zigzagged. It was just incredible, and I just don't know how it's going to go. It could be really bad for them at the weekend. It could be really bad, and they got a couple of players that I like. They got João Gomes in centre mid. I quite liked him. They had that guy at the back, Mosquera. He's the one that choke slammed Havertz on the floor a couple of seasons ago, at the start of the season. Then he got an ACL. He's come back in. He's quite a brute defender. And Strand Larsen, I saw him play against us at the Emirates. He hit the crossbar or maybe Ray made a save. Good player. She needs to get out of that club real quick, and will do, no doubt. And but hey, look, if we don't have enough of them, we need an emergency podcast, mate. We need an emergency podcast. We've got to make sure we deal with them and get back on the horse, and then go towards Everton and deal with them. Considering we've drawn 3 away games in a row, and then we rock into like Palace and Brighton and Villa, mate. Get your shin pads out for Villa, Paul. That's going to be tasty on the 30th. So, not that I'm looking ahead, but that's in my eye line as well, given what happened just recently.
Yeah, that's going to be. You want those rivalries, right? You don't like it on the day. You don't like the fact that it may cost you a point or two along the way, the fact they're so motivated. But you want the fact that Newcastle hate us and we hate them. You want that Villa hate us and we hate them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the stuff of football.
We can't have Unai rocking up at the Emirates and then going to see all our board members saying, "Hey, how you doing, lads? You all right? I've just taken 6 points of you again." Do you know what I mean? We can't. That can't be happening. So, says we need to be on our toes that game for definite.
We'll be ready for them. All right. Will we stick a fork in this sausage?
I think so. Elliot's left us on our own for long enough. Yeah. He's probably thinking, how long? So, we should be good.
Very good. Well, right. Let's wrap it there. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you after Arsenal 10, Wolves 0.